Welcome to the 13th episode of the Right to the Point podcast, hosted by the Republican Study Committee. It's crazy how time flies. We're already 6 months into the 119th Congress. This is my first time hosting the podcast. It's going to be a great one, primarily because we got these great guests. The Right to the Point podcast is the RSC's way of kind of cutting through the noise and delivering what's truly going on in Washington and right to you. This is I'm Vice Chair Blake Moore out of Utah. I'm going to be your host today, and I'm joined with two great guests, both of who are on the Congressional Baseball Team, which is the most important aspect of all things going on in Washington
this week. The number one thing.
Yeah, the absolute number one thing. We're all members of the team. I will be sitting on the sidelines this year with a busted-up shoulder.
How did that happen
I'm an
again?
idiot, because I am an idiot. And
chose soccer over baseball?
Yeah, I did not choose it. It chose me, unfortunately. We're gonna be okay. We're on a 4-game winning streak, I think. So let me introduce Randy Feenstra, one of my closest buddies back here out of Iowa, and Rep. Craig Goldman, new freshman congressman out of Texas. Give us a little bit about yourself, and let's jump into it.
Well, Randy Feenstra from a 4th district of Iowa, representing most of the agriculture. We're the number one agricultural district virtually in the country with cattle, hogs, and dairy, cattle, eggs, you name it. And so I grew up a little different, though. I was head of sales of a large candy company, makers of Black Forest gummy bears and Sour Mega warheads, and then got into public administration, was city administrator, county treasurer, was head of the Iowa Senate Ways and Means, and decided to choose a career in U.S. congressional area. Had some friends that talked me into it, and now I'm here. So it's great to be with you today, Mr. Moore, my good friend, Mr. Blake Moore.
You've never called me Mr. Moore before. That's Craig?
We all get talked into it, don't we? Well, my name's Craig Goldman. I'm from the 12th District in Texas. I actually, coming back to Washington, D.C., when I graduated at the University of Texas, my first job was up here in Washington, D.C. I started in the mailroom at the National Republican Senatorial Committee, working for Phil Gramm, who was chairman, and stayed there for 5 years. I came to Iowa a number of times, Randy, as we were talking about, when Phil Gramm ran for president. Great state. Didn't go to all 99 counties, but a lot of state fairs, a lot of pork chops on a stick. We certainly enjoyed. So I was in and out of campaigns. After Senator Gramm, I worked for John McCain for his presidential campaign then, and then went home. My dad and I started a retail wine and food store, and thought I was basically going to do that the rest of my life until I committed the ultimate sin as a former staffer. And in 2012, put my own name on the ballot, and I ran for state rep in Texas and won that seat. So I've been a state rep for the last 12 years. And then same thing, when Kay Granger announced she wasn't going to run again, got talked into leaving the state house and coming up here to Congress. So it's been a crazy first 6 months here in Washington, D.C. as a member of Congress, and very strange to go back to the Senatorial Committee, go to the mailroom, which I did one of my first stops, and kind of relive the old days, and still amazed that I'm here, but really enjoying it.
It's funny, everybody that I was talked to says their first 6 months is kind of crazy. I think back to our first 6 months.
Just a little crazy.
It was just a little bit crazy. Getting a chance to chat with Craig just this week, actually. Amazing story. And I think you have epitomized something that's unique about that you don't always get to do. I think even in careers writ large, but particularly in Congress, you have a really solid background in the type of work that you want to do, and you got right after it and got onto the Energy and Commerce Committee as a freshman. That's a unique opportunity, and it matters to your state, and it's kind of cool. And you came in under one of the greats, right? One of the legends in Kay Granger and what she did for not only your state, but just general appropriations and possible. But like I had mentioned, Randy and I are close friends, and there's not a more substantive person on the Ways and Means Committee that came with a background of tax policy, healthcare policy that is not just, you're prepared with some talking points. Like, you've lived this, you understand it completely.
And I agree with that. But the number one point is this. I've been the tallest man in our conference, and I still am. I just want you to remember that, right?
The unfortunate thing about some facts, a lot of facts in Washington get spin, but the unfortunate thing about this one is verifiable, and I'm clearly that. But that actually leads us to what everybody wants to talk about is the Congressional Baseball Game. It's been going on since 1909. right?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
1909.
110, 115 plus years, one of the most storied things in history. It's very split as far as wins and losses.
That's changing, though.
Before we got here, I'll just like to say, before Randy and I got here, we had lost like 7 straight years to the Democrats. And ever since Randy and I got here, we're undefeated. So you do the math on what that is. And it just, the RSC chairman, August Pfluger, it would be remiss if we didn't also say that he's a dynamite baseball player and probably the real reason we're playing
the real closer
well.
of the game.
That's my goal.
But we're on a 4-game winning streak. We're going to secure another win this year. Randy and I have been playing for several years. Craig, you're on the team for the first year.
That's why I'm going to sit on the bench and not mess anything up.
Yeah, right, good. Exactly. Keep your mouth shut on the bench and just don't screw anything up. And when folks need a Gatorade, you'll get it.
That's right, exactly.
Can you give us a preview of what we can expect this year? We've been practicing again. I'm suffering an injury, but like any good professional baseball player, because we're playing in a professional field. So for a day, we treat ourselves like professional athletes.
Yes.
I only do what my agent tells me, and he says I'm not ready to play, and he doesn't want to risk future years of this, so I got to sit this one out. But give us a little bit of preview of what we can expect.
Well, I just want to say, I think it was our first year you were here. I think you were the one that hit an inside the park home run. I mean, that was just so much fun. But you play on a professional field. I mean, where the Washington Nationals play. But this isn't just a one-night thing. I mean, here we started practicing March 1st, and we practiced every day that we're here in Congress. And most of us wake up at 4:45 every morning, get on a little short bus or get in a car, and we're at the field at 5:45, and we practice for an hour and a half. But the most important thing is obviously not the game, but it's a camaraderie that you have with each other, like us. We became close friends because of this. Yep. Goldie, you and I become friends knowing each other. Actually, true story, I became friends with Goldie because he hit me with a bat.
That's true. That's true. I still feel awful.
In the head.
I still feel awful. I did. We were indoors.
Yeah, but it's something, the camaraderie that you have and the relationships that you build. So that's exciting.
There's no question. You hear about it on the outside, then you become a member, and I asked Roger if I could try out, and he said, Goldman, just because I've known you since birth doesn't mean you have a place on the team.
I love it.
Not realizing that he really took it that seriously. Now, being here, you realize he takes it that seriously, and everybody does. Everybody wants to win, and not just win by 5 runs or 10 runs. It's I think perhaps maybe us new guys may see the field if there's a 20 to 30 run margin of
you'd think about that. But you've never seen Skipper coaching or managing a baseball game. We were up by multiple, like almost 25 or so runs last year, and I had orchestrated to be able to give a send-off to one of the greats in this game, Brad Wenstrup. Right. Brad Wenstrup was one of the first and really one of the saving graces to Steve Scalise when he was shot in practice.
Doctor.
He's a doctor, and he was one of the guys that really administered first care to the folks and the Capitol Police that were there. But we were going to give him a send-off, and what you do at a send-off is you have him leave the game before the game's over.
Right.
So you can tip your hat before you go in the dugout. Right. We were up by like 25 runs. And
Winstrup's a good second baseman. It's like, do we pull this guy?
I told Skipper, I go, Skipper, we got to get him. We got to end the game. We got to pull him out with at least during the inning. Yep. And he goes, "But who can play third?" I'm like, Skipper, we're up 25 runs. Exactly. I think we'll be fine. And he goes, "I'm not." And I'm like, "I'm not making any." He's like, "I'm not leaving anything to chance." I'm like, Skipper, this is Brad Wenstrup. We got to get him out. And I'm yelling. We got our first out in the last inning, and I was yelling at the second baseman. Like I needed to tell him this. Don't turn a double play. We can't really turn double plays. We're too old to turn double plays. But I'm yelling, don't turn a double play because the game's over. And so we finally get that second out. And I finally just ran in. And I'll play third base. Don't know the first thing about. I've never played third base in my life, but I'll do it so we can give him the right send off. So Skipper takes it serious.
Seriously, but Skipper also knows that we could play like the Bad News Bears. I mean, we could have 10 errors in a game in an inning.
At any moment, this could all fall. In our first year, it did. It did.
That's right.
But 4-game winning streak. We're gonna take it to the Democrat, and I'll tell you, we raise millions of dollars for local charities. Democrats have
$2.5 million, close to it.
I think it's 2.5.
Kevin Brady came to practice the other day from Texas, and a former player, and he said when they first started playing at RFK, there were 4,000 fans that came out.
And tomorrow night, 35.
Now 35, raising over $2 million for charity. I mean, so yes, why you do it, why we do it, and that's another great.
Dems have a good team. A lot of friends that we have. I'm typically the center fielder, and one of my closest friends is Jimmy Panetta from the California delegation.
You mean the
who
guy that
plays
mowed me
center
over
field.
at first base last year? That
Probably,
guy?
yeah. That's what
Great guy.
I told him
Love
to.
the guy. Yeah. But it shows you we have camaraderie amongst not only Republicans but Democrats.
exactly,
I mean, we enjoy each other, and you know, this is one night that we get together, and that we could have a bond, and the whole community comes out and observes the game, but we all have fun doing it.
And do it for charity, so it's a good thing.
And the other thing, when the alarm goes off at 4:45 and you think, I really can't do it, you know damn well Steve Scalise is going to be out there.
He's going to be out there.
That's right, exactly. He's out there every day.
Tiger will be there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So is there any incentive to help get you out of bed?
Yeah,
You know
once
Steve's
again,
gonna
my
be there.
agent doesn't like me going to practice that early, so I sometimes have to hold out for a bigger
You know,
contract.
but you mentioned this.
For the record, there's no contract.
But you think about this, when people come that play from California or you have 2-3 hour time zone change. I mean, that's significant.
yeah.
So
It's
not only are you getting
brutal.
up at 4:45, it's 2:45 at home.
right.
I mean, it's really brutal.
That's right.
I'll end it with this. We actually should the most important thing for us all to do at our old age is just stretch. That's the most important thing we should do in our practice, and we don't always do that.
No stretch.
We'll get into. Go ahead.
I mean, we had a lot of pulled muscles last year because
I was 2 years ago. I was a pulled muscle.
You come out of the batter's box and you're running at 100 mile an hour.
Full muscle, hurt arm. Is someone starting to tell you something?
I still play like I'm 18, but my body is fully 45. Well, let's jump into just a few headlines. Look, I'll just toss this out to you. Like right now, we're seeing a lot go on in California. The National Guard has been sent in. You're seeing riots and protests and these things flare up. Like, give me your take on it right now. I got a few things to share, but as you see it, what is your take on this?
Well, a few years ago, I passed an anti-defund the police bill in the Texas State Legislature. Thought it passed unanimously. Couldn't believe that actually people not only opposed it, but they spoke out publicly against it, against our law enforcement. So that's what we're seeing out in California now. These people are trying to go out there and arrest and deport illegal immigrants who have committed major crimes. And yet you have this element out there that is trying to stop that, stop law enforcement from doing their jobs. I don't understand it. It's not, I don't think it's an America we want, America we like, not an America we want to be a part of. So, right, you send in the National Guard and send in anything to stop these people from doing this sort of thing.
That's what I love about the Republican Study Committee, that we can get together, we talk about these things and find solutions.
Yeah.
And here you have a situation, like you said, all right, they're a sanctuary city, protecting illegals that have done wrong.
Yeah.
And
And
what is
mayor of Los Angeles defending them.
and defending them.
Not even her citizens or voters.
So what is the only solution, right? And it's unfortunate that we got to call in the National Guard and the military, but we have to eradicate ourselves of these people that want to destroy our country.
Yeah.
I was at the White House yesterday, and they obviously got a lot of questions on this.
Look
from
at
the
that
press.
name drop. I was at the
No, that's good. It's on. It's on
okay.
film now. No, it was. And this was what the press wanted to talk about. We were there doing this whole other thing related to the bill that we're going to talk about in a second, but they just want to push and said, hey, like, Gavin Newsom is saying, this is a violation because you shouldn't, unless we request it, you shouldn't send it in. There's honest discussion to be had about that, from the federal to the state side, about whether this needs to be requested or not. And where I land on this is we cannot repeat past mistakes. In 2020, the riots that turned into very inflammatory across the country, from either Minneapolis and Portland. I mean, there was real property burned here, and we have to be willing to deter that.
But where the difference is, I'll push back on a little bit.
No, I'm saying.
No, I know what you're saying, but what Gavin Newsom is saying is, yeah, that shouldn't happen, but these are federal officials coming in to remove these illegal immigrants. This isn't a college campus that lost track and the governor said, we don't need National Guard. No, this is to protect our federal agents.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
there.
We can't look back. In 2020, you have, in that time, a lot of federal buildings, too. Like, we have to be willing to deter this type of violence.
No question.
And we learned in 2020 that this gets out of hand quickly. And so to sending in reinforcements to be able to make so that doesn't get more and more out of hand and spiral. There's a history of this. We've seen it, and it's within the last 4 years that we've got to be willing to go and deter this activity. And I believe that's what the administration is trying to do.
That's right.
So, look, the big, beautiful bill.
Beautiful bill.
Tax reconciliation. Largely, biggest portion of it is obviously the tax piece. You hear lots of, conversation around this. You can hear some things from Republican sides on this, and I just wanted to use this opportunity to distill down, like, no one, you and I spent more than a year, probably a year and a half, knowing that this was an opportunity we could do, to look at the 2017 tax reform that took place, identifying all the provisions in that and making that permanent is something that I know people don't really grasp how important that is to our economy. I just wanted to toss it over to you to sort of share big picture about this bill, address any of the criticisms that you hear from it. And when we do that, like, it's amazing that I can talk to people and you can say, hey, you've heard this? Well, let me tell you the truth. Right. And then they're like, oh, this is amazing. Like, this should be a no-brainer. And just share a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, if you didn't do anything, it'd be the largest tax increase in U.S. history. Because all these provisions of 2017 were planning to sunset at the end of 2025. So people have to understand that. That's how important this bill is. But then you look at what it's doing. You double your standard deduction for your families. You have the child tax credit going to $2,500 for small businesses. The 199A going to 23%. Then you have interest expensing. You have depreciation. All these things for larger businesses. I mean, it's going to put our economy on steroids. And it was noted by the economic group. I should know it by now, but they said it's going to grow our GDP from 2.5% to 4.5% over the next 5-6 years. That is significant, and the growth that's going to happen, it's just remarkable. And then, hey, there are some pay-fors, but the pay-fors are simply to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. All right, just simply saying, hey, illegals, you're not going to get SNAP payments. All right, illegals, you're not going to get Medicaid. I have no problem with that. They're in the country illegally. They shouldn't be getting our benefits. And so I think there's a lot of people that are concerned about some of these issues, but you just got to read into it and say, wow, this is really an incredible bill and is doing what we want for our country. And also it creates dollars to build the wall and secure our border.
Yeah.
So Senate Democrats are saying they're going to use every resource available to stop this from going on. And let me add this before I ask you the question to kind of opine on that. When the Democrats had the White House, and Senate, the irony is they didn't touch any of these tax reform bills from 2017. They let all of them go through because deep down they know that if you lower the FDII rate, right, foreign derived intangible assets, let's get a little bit like in the weeds here. If you lower that rate and make it competitive to our partners in Europe, companies are going to choose to bring that back and invest that and onshore that. So instead of paying that tax to Ireland, they're now paying that competitive tax rate to the U.S.
And that has started in 2017 ever since.
And truly involved colleagues of ours on the Democrat side truly understand that. All those provisions from child tax credit to making taxes competitive so people will reinvest in America, those all lived on. And now they're going to use every resource to fight this from actually going into law. Thoughts on that?
Well, it's a fundamental belief in the Democrat Party versus the Republican Party. It's what we learned long ago when we first got involved. A big taxing, government-depending party. That's what they want. They want to tax people. They want people dependent on the government versus a party that is for limited government and low taxes. It comes down to that. My freshman class to come in here in January and y'all all talk about and leadership talk about this is the most consequential bill potentially we'll all ever be a part of. And first of all, those of you who helped elect a new member to Congress in the Republican Party, thank you. Because not my words, even though I'd like to brag on my class, Speaker Johnson's word says this is the best class he's seen since he's been a member. So, his words, not mine, guys.
Wow.
His words,
said
not
the
mine.
same thing we got
Just
here.
saying. But for y'all to say and for leadership to say it's the most consequential piece of legislation
it is.
that they'll vote on possibly in their careers. This is a big bill.
Right.
And even coming from a state as large as Texas, we never had a bill like this that can fundamentally change American history moving forward.
And I just want to say the Republican Study Committee was very engaged in helping put some of this together. I mean, it was impressive how the different factions of our different side groups in the RSC came together and said, hey, this is a great
bill. The previous chairman is a
Ways and Means
member. A Ways and Means member, very strong contributing member of Ways and Means, and the current chairman of RSC, August Pfluger. The side that you hear a lot about as well is what the Energy and Commerce Committee did. And we as Ways and Means members know that that's the most important aspect of the bill. But there's some stuff that ENC did, and it was worth
some stuff we did.
We'll give them some credit.
We'll give them some credit.
And by the way,
they made a lot of hard decisions.
$800 billion in savings we were tasked with.
Phenomenal.
We came over with over $1 billion in savings. Chairman Pfluger did an amazing job with it. Chairman Brett Guthrie of the committee did an incredible job. They truly rolled up their sleeves and went to work and found all those savings. And it's a fundamental belief. Do we want more people dependent on Medicaid? And no, but able-bodied Americans who are on Medicaid should not be on Medicaid. People who are here illegally should not be on Medicaid. California has decided to let those people be on Medicaid. It comes out of my taxpayers, your taxpayers' pockets. That's a fundamental belief. No, they should not. So it's things like that we did on ENC to put in the piece of legislation.
What's the responsible thing when you go through a big a reconciliation bill like that? Sometimes it's easy to not do the offset side. Right. You do the stuff you want to do. Democrats, when they did American Rescue Plan and Inflation Reduction Act, they just did a big spend. Yeah. Right? Their priority was spending and government spending associated with both of those two bills, but offsetting it with tax increases, they know would have been really damaging. Yep. They decided not to go through with that. And so we just create.
But we cut, and people don't understand this, from the deficit, we cut 1.5 to 1.8 trillion with this bill.
By the way, this is what I say back at home, and it's true. It's the first government audit in American history.
Yeah, really
what is going on right now in our government.
Let me put both of you on the spot, and I'll share my thoughts first so you have a second to think about it. But from this bill, what do you want to be able to go back and say to your state?
It's easy for me. Easy for me. Well, one, the taxes, but two, border security.
Border security.
I mean, think about it. Joe Biden says, I can't secure the border. I need to pass a bill. I need Congress to pass a bill. President Trump, within the first 7 days, had an executive order signed, told the Border Patrol, get back to work. Because truly, we went down to the border several times, being from Texas and members of the legislature, and the Border Patrol says, we are told we're to stand down. We cannot and should not do our jobs. And people were we watched groups upon groups. We were in helicopters watching groups, literally just wade in the water and cross the border because they were allowed. So the billions of dollars of border security that are in this bill, you can ask anybody in Texas, for the first time in at least 4 to 5 years, they feel safe and secure that border is secure.
I'll just briefly mention the piece to me. Utah, as I mention all the time, is the youngest state in the nation by a significant percentage, actually. And we're putting through this bill. Some of the biggest provisions in the tax policy is to enhance the child tax credit. So Republicans doubled it in 2017 from $1,000 to $2,000, and then it's going back to $1,000 if we don't get this bill done. It's going back to $1,000. That's pre-26 levels, time value money. You know this more than anything. That is going to be pittance, and we need to make sure that $2,000 mark. So we're not only securing it at $2,000 and making that permanent. So that's the baseline from now on. We're actually indexing it to inflation, so it will uptick as costs continue to go up in various natural inflation that takes place. We're doing that, but for the next 4 years, we're doing another enhancement to that and investing in our youth like we've never invested in them before. So a young state like mine cares a lot about that type of stuff. Those are all really good provisions. Randy, I'll let you finish up, and then I'll close this out.
Well, I just look at this bill. It creates the economic incentives and the engine for our country. I mean, it is going to be economics on steroids of how this bill as it plays out. And for Iowa, I'm just so excited of what it's going to do. It's going to draw in more manufacturing. It's going to help current manufacturers grow and develop. I mean, there's so many good things. Agriculture, there's incentives in there for agriculture on tax incentives for death tax and things like this. So our family farms stay to the next generation and are not bought by foreign adversaries. I mean, there's just so many great things in this bill. And like I said, it's going to dramatically grow our country economically. And that's what I'm excited about.
To your point, this is just the first step, as they've talked about. This is the first of many steps to come as the appropriations puts together the budget bill with all these cuts in it as well. We're just getting started.
Yep, we have a real opportunity here. And the one stat that I've heard the speaker mention recently in a lot of the polling, and I used to do polling, and you would never see this, that for the first time we're over the 50% mark of people that think we're heading in the right direction. Yeah. And I want to keep that going. And the Republican Study Committee is key to driving that policy and that engine to make it so that we can keep putting together winnable, inch by inch, mile by mile, type of policy that's going to get our country back on the right track. All right, so this brings us to the end of the 13th podcast. Do not miss the 14th. You'll get a much better group of people, maybe even a little more handsome than what you could even have today. We don't know how that could possibly be the case. Yeah, but you will not want to miss episode 14. Please don't forget, follow the Republican Study Committee on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble. The handle is @RepublicanStudy. And we're going to sign off here, and thank you again. Thanks for listening, and let's go win the big game this week.
Let's go.